this is a standard keyboard, and this is an ergonomic keyboard, and this, and this, and that, and all of these. Yes, they look like they were exposed to the first evolutionary virus, but there's a reason behind their quirky shapes and unconventional key disposition. Keep watching to learn why. Let's start with the basics: split layout or fully split keyboards. The split layout on an ergonomic keyboard responds to a basic principle. When you type on a normal keyboard, your wrists are slightly extended outwards. If you split the layout and tilt it inwards, now you can type with your wrist aligned with your forearms. The most basic ergonomic keyboards only have a split layout, like for example this cheap Pedix keyboard. You cannot adjust the separation of the halves or how much you tilt it inwards. Most of the fixed split layout keyboards have a very small separation of the halves and they are tilted inwards slightly. However, others have a wider separation and they are not tilted at all. This is because the more you split the halves, the less you need to tilt the keyboard inward to keep your wrist aligned. This is something that is more obvious with a fully split keyboard like the Dygma Race 2. With the Dygma Race 2, you can use the keyboard like a normal keyboard, and then you can split it, but just keep it together like this, so similar to this one, or you can continue adjusting the halves and split them apart as much as you like. This lets you find the perfect position for your shoulder width or the way you type. For example, I like to have them quite apart, but not so much as shoulder width, so I tilt them slightly inward. Another quirky feature of some ergonomic keyboards is the unusual key disposition. You'll see that on a normal keyboard, the keys are arranged in staggered rows, so like moving like this. This is inherited from the mechanical typewriter because there was a lever connecting the key to the lever that would hit the paper with the ink. And you couldn't have two keys aligned because you would need a lever to go one next to the other. But our fingers don't move like this, they move like this. So it makes sense to arrange the keys in a columnar disposition, just like this. This way your fingers move vertically and not diagonally, which can lead to pain in the joints of your fingers. This is more comfortable overall, but there are still some ergonomic keyboards, like the Dygma Race 2, that keep that staggered layout. The reason behind this is simple. We've been using staggered keyboards for many years, and we've built muscle memory with them. So it's easier to transition from a standard keyboard to a mechanical keyboard if not everything is completely different. So Columnar is considered more ergonomic because of this hand movement, but moving from this to this can be too much. So many people prefer to move from this to this and maybe eventually to the Dygma Defy, which is a columnar keyboard. Another thing that stands out on ergonomic keyboards are thumb keys. On a normal keyboard, you have one spacebar that you press with both your thumbs, which is a little bit inefficient. That's why many ergonomic keyboards have at least two thumb keys, and some of them have many more. Like the Defy has 8 on each side, the Race has 4, the Mulander has also 4. Thumb keys are great to map more keys to your thumbs, especially keys that you hit with your pinky, like backspace, enter, or even shift. If you do that with your thumbs, which are very dexterous, you'll be saving this motion and pressing with the pinky, which is really weak, a lot throughout the day. Here on the Dygma Race, there is 4 thumb keys on each side, 3 of which are really comfortable to reach. But the thumbs are really dexterous and they can reach a wide area. So what if we give them more keys? Like for example with the Dygma Defy. The Dygma Defy is probably the keyboard with more thumb keys in the market, 8 on each side. This can be a little bit intimidating, but the reality is that you are not supposed to use all of them. They're here because each hand is different and each person places their hands on the keyboard differently. So for example, if you have large hands, you might reach the outer keys better, but if you have smaller hands, you might reach the inner keys better. It also depends if you're used to moving your thumbs like this or curl them. For example, me, I can rotate my thumbs easily, so all the top row and even this key is pretty easy to reach, but I don't like curling my fingers, so I don't use the bottom row. But for example, our CEO can curl his finger pretty easily and doesn't like to curl it inside, so he uses these keys more while I use all the top row. There are also different types of thumb cluster. The Defy uses what is called the arc thumb cluster, which you can find in this keyboard, the Glove 80, and also the QWERTY Model 100. But there's also the box-style thumb cluster, which you can find in the Moonlander, the Kinesis Advantage, and also the ErgoDox EZ. The curved thumb cluster is supposed to follow the natural curve that the thumb describes when moving. The boxed thumb cluster, which arranges the thumb keys in a grid, can also give you a lot of keys. But in my opinion, they are not as easy to reach because you sometimes need to move your hand upwards to reach them. Other keyboards, like the Voyager, only give you 2 thumb keys, which are both easy to reach. In my opinion, having 3 or 4 thumb keys that you can reach comfortably is the sweet spot. So if you're looking to buy an ergonomic keyboard, I would recommend downloading and printing the layout to see how many keys you can reach comfortably. For example, the Moonlander has 4, but I can only comfortably reach 2 and maybe 3, not this one. On the other hand, on the Race 2, which also has 4, I can reach 3 really comfortably, and this 4th one not so comfortably. Another thing you'll notice from ergonomic keyboards is that they have fewer keys than a standard 100% keyboard, which has 104 keys. Some have slightly fewer keys, like the UHK80, which is an 80% keyboard, also known as 10 key less, or the Glove 80, which has 80 keys. This means that they don't have the number pad, but they still have the F row, and in the case of the UHK80, still some function keys here on the right column. However, keyboards like the Dygma Race 2 or the Dygma Defy have fewer keys. You don't have the F row or the arrow keys. Those keys are usually accessible through function keys or layers. For example, on my Dygma Race 2, when I press this key, I have the arrows under ESDF, which is super comfortable because I have my hand already there. This is partly why having extra thumb keys on a smaller keyboard is so important, because you will need those thumb keys for those layers or function keys. For example, if I press this other key, those are my F keys, and here are my media keys and whatnot. And you can keep reducing the number of keys. For example, the Dygma Defy doesn't have a modifier row like the Dygma Race 2, but you have more thumb keys. And the Voyager does not have that modifier row and only has 2 thumb keys. Some keyboards even remove the number row and only have 36 keys, or even 34 if you only have 2 thumb keys. And there are some crazy projects out there with about 18 keys, which are fewer keys than letters on the alphabet. But maybe that's too much for today. Then there is tenting, which is what makes ergonomic keyboards feel even weirder. You know, you transform your keyboard into this kind of like battle station control. The main benefit of tenting is that on a normal keyboard, you type with your hands facing down, which means that the bones on your arm cross, pinching the muscles in your wrist and reducing blood circulation. When you rotate your arms, those bones unpinch. This is the most natural position for our hands. You don't walk like this, you walk like this. The more you rotate your arms, the better, but even a small amount is good for you. Some basic ergonomic keyboards like the Logitech K860 offer a little bit of tenting, 7.5 degrees. But the most advanced ergonomic keyboards offer some kind of tenting solution that can reach higher angles, normally 30, 40, or even 60. Here you need to pay attention and understand the different tenting solutions. There is basically 2, built in and as an external accessory. External tenting solutions look something like this: a metal plate with a hinge and some kind of way to adjust the angle and connect the keyboard like this. This is the Moonlander accessory, and this one is the Racer kit for the UHK80. The problem with these solutions is that in order to remove them, you need to unscrew things from the keyboard, and if you fold them, the keyboard is not completely flat and it is higher on the desk. Also, in some cases, you need a tool to adjust the angle. Then there's integrated solutions like the one you find in the QWERTY, which already has a little bit of tenting by default, but you can increase that by adjusting these legs. The problem with this solution is that you cannot reach too much angle, and that since there's 5 legs, you need to be careful as to how much you move each one outward or the keyboard will wobble. Finally, there is the tenting solution of the Dygma keyboards, which can reach high angles and low angles and everything in between, but can also fall completely into the keyboard. Let me show you. There is 2 legs that you can just simply fold, and the keyboard will be flat. You can transport it and there's no extra height. Then when you want to set it up, you just deploy the legs, select the angle here in the angle selector. I'm going to go for 45, although it reaches up to 60. And there it is. Easy, fast, light, yet very, very, very stable. Another quirky thing that you'll find on some ergonomic keyboards is what is called a Keywell. That's when the keys are placed in this kind of concave well. This is designed so you can reach the top and bottom rows more easily, since your fingers describe a curve that is similar to that well. So when you place your hands here on the keyboard and you move like this, it's easier to reach the top and bottom rows. And I must say, when you type on these kind of keyboards, it feels really comfortable. But there are a couple of drawbacks. One of them is that if your hands are a bit too big, they won't fit in the Keywell. Not a problem for me. I have standard hands. And also, the keyboard is a little bit taller than a standard keyboard. So you need to sit a little bit higher so your hands are not like this and are still parallel to the floor. Finally, a small drawback is that these kind of keyboards, due to the concave keywell, are not easily manufactured with hot swappable sockets. So they are soldered into the PCBs and you cannot change them. That's something that you can do on most ergonomic keyboards that have mechanical switches, like the Dygma Defy, the Moonlander, the Voyager, the Dygma Race 2, the UHK, almost all of them. Let's talk now about palm pads and palm rests. Palm pads and palm rests are there to rest your palms when you're not typing. Ideally, when you're typing, you should float your hands and not rest them on the palm pads. This is something that is present on many ergonomic keyboards with different technical solutions. The most basic palm rests are usually made of plastic, like the ones you find on the Moonlander or the QWERTY. Then you also have wood palm pads, like you would find in the UHK80. These are warmer to the touch, but still hard because, well, they are made of wood. And then you have this kind of palm rests / palm pad that you find on the Logitech K860, which I find really comfortable because it's soft and the touch of the cloth is really nice. The problem of this palm rest is that it is built in on the keyboard. So when this wears out or gets dirty, you need to change the keyboard in order to change the palm rest. So on other keyboards like the Dygma Race 2 or the Dygma Defy, the palm pads are detachable, so you can clean them easily or get replacement if they get dirty. And you have the palm rests here. In this case, this is made of aluminum, so it's cold when you touch it, but you can always place the palm pads and rest your palms comfortably. These are held magnetically, so they don't go anywhere, and they even stay into position when you tent the keyboard. Another thing that is not exclusive to ergonomic keyboards, but that affects ergonomics is connectivity. Some ergonomic keyboards are only wired, like the Moonlander or the Voyager, and others are wireless, like the Dygma Defy, the QWERTY, or the UHK80. This is relevant in the sense that when you have a split ergonomic keyboard that's tented, the cables can get in the way. Maybe you want to split your keyboard more, and the cable is always here connecting both halves, and then you have a cable connected to the computer. If you have a wireless keyboard, there is nothing preventing you to adjust it exactly how you like it. And that's it. That's why ergonomic keyboards are the way they are. Each quirk responds to a need to improve ergonomics. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these quirks or features is the one that is most important to you when getting an ergonomic keyboard? For me, it's the split design and the thumb keys. What about you? Let me know in the comments. Until the next one!